How's it going guys, Chris here, and in this one we're going to be checking out all of those bosses in Doom the Dark Ages. So there might be loads of different demons to blast your way through in Doom the Dark Ages campaign, but there isn't exactly a ton of bosses to battle, with most of the big fights taking place towards the latter end of the story. And with them all pretty much being linked in with that story, you should probably expect this guy to have a few spoilers thrown in. But before you reach all of those, you'll first be met by a few mini-bosses along your journey, these being the golden-plated champion demons, basically even tougher variants of some of the already tougher enemies. These guys are spread out over the story, and you won't have to fight them very often. The Vagary champion is the first mini-boss that you'll bump into, and for the most part it's going to use all of the same tricks as the basic variant, spewing out nasty goo to form puddles on the floor, slashing away at you in close range with that rake hand, and of course causing the whole screen to get flooded with fireballs and rockets. That golden armor is going to be a hell of a lot tougher to wear down, with it pretty much protecting the boss's entire front, so you'll need to rely a lot more on those shield parries to bounce back some of the Vagary's green projectiles, eventually stunning the beast and leaving it vulnerable, giving you a brief moment to flank around its side and light the bugger up by blasting away at that exposed abdomen and legs round the back. Not the toughest boss in the world, but at least it's slightly different to the normal Vagary, having that extra defense. Which is more than I can say for the Ahzrak champion, who despite looking a tad cooler with his swanky golden shield, hasn't exactly gained the right to be called a champion. Not in my eyes anyway. This guy is pretty much the same as the Ahzrak hunters, only he must have pre-ordered his weapons to get the golden skins for them. Expect him to throw up a protective bubble to block off incoming fire, launch demonic projectiles over range, and slash and bash away at you with that powerful sword and shield. Keep countering his attacks to eventually stun the big guy, and just keep shooting away at him whenever that force field's down. He's definitely wasted his money on that golden plating, as it doesn't really seem to do very much. The last champion type is of course the Komodo. Another one of the game's beastiest beasts, though once again not exactly a completely different monster to its normal variant. The Komodo champion still bounces around the place at high speeds, using more weapons than it probably needs, whether it be swinging that chainsaw lance around, smashing the floor with its giant fist, or taking pop shots with that shoulder mounted cannon. Deflect those green attacks to build up stun damage, and pepper the bugger with gunfire while he's not jumping all over the place. A pretty cool fight, but once again that gold armor doesn't seem to give this champion too much of an advantage, being all style and no substance. Anyway, enough of those champions, it's time for some proper bosses, and the first main one you'll get the pleasure of fighting won't actually be until chapter 20, so quite far into the game. The newly appointed Bishop of the Ministry, Kreed Maykr, is basically given the job to oversee the flow of Sentinel energy to the Maykr homeworld, and as it turns out, he just so happens to be using the Doomslayer as a puppet, imprisoned to do his bidding. Kreed Maker's also been conspiring with Hell's leaders in secret, opting to side with Hell to spare the Kreed's life. So, two perfectly good reasons why the Doomslayer might want to rip this guy in half. After flying over to his ship and butchering most of his crew, you'll come face to face with a big chonky alien dude while he's hovering around in a massive circular room. You know, the sort of room that would be perfect for a big boss brawl. While considering this guy prefers to send his drone minions to do the dirty work, he's not actually that bad at fighting. If by fighting you mean zipping around the place on a floating chair lobbing lots of deadly projectiles. Kreed Maker's got quite a lot of ways to attack, mainly from a distance by firing energy orbs and pulses, while conjuring up some dangerous hazards that you'll need to destroy by throwing your shield. He's got quite a lot of mobility for a big bloke, and so you'll be spending most of your time trying to keep up with his movements, while avoiding everything he sends out at you. Might be best to switch over to a high fire rate weapon to keep chipping away at that health bar, while destroying any drones which appear in the area to replenish your own. Though eventually he'll start adding some new moves to the mix, summoning waves of yellow spikes while being protected by a giant force field. And as the fight rages on, he's going to keep throwing even more stuff at you. Whittle that health down enough and you'll just casually kick the big guy out of the window. The fight may be won, but the war's not over just yet. Kreed Maykr decides to strip off, show you what's hiding underneath that gown like some sort of messed up flasher, where he actually reveals his body's merged with a load of slimy slug aliens. Lovely. Obviously, he's not ready to be defeated just yet. Goes on to kick off round 2, which generally plays out in a very similar way to round 1, only now with even more of those projectiles, along with some new attacks, including a bunch of huge electrical walls, confining you to smaller spaces, and the ability to rain death on you from the heavens, indicated by big symbols on the floor. Just keep the pressure on, dodge those energy balls, and be careful not to run into any hazards, and you'll eventually get the opportunity to give this guy what he deserves. He does offer to help you while pleading for his life, but the Doomslayer's not that easily swayed. No surprise there. With Doom the Dark Ages exploring the cosmic realm of Lovecraftian entities, it'd be a perfect opportunity to throw Cthulhu into the mix, and make him someone we can fight. Well, that's pretty much who the Old One is, and although these cosmic rulers died in the past, they were resurrected by the magic of a witch, combined with power from the Heart of Argent, a mysterious artifact wielded by Prince Ahzrak. Long story short, you'll be pitted against the Old One in Chapter 21, while you're stomping around in your giant Atlan war machine. The Doomslayer probably wouldn't be able to take this dude on by himself, but that tanky mech suit certainly helps to even things up a bit. And this boss fight basically plays out like a big kaiju battle, punching the living crap out of a huge cosmic god, while that huge cosmic god lashes out with a series of different magical attacks and supernatural abilities. You've got to watch out for all the typical melee strikes, with the Old One swinging that astral mace to slap you around in closer proximities, often using several different combos to try and catch you out. And having a pair of gigantic wings also lets the boss float around in the air, and dive bomb you over distance as well. All fairly basic so far for a Lovecraftian god, but don't worry because he's also got a bunch of weird tricks up his sleeve too. From leaving astral projections of himself to double up those attacks and act as a distraction, to charging up blasts which dish out the damage within a purple radius. But probably the wackiest trick is where he calls upon a load of giant space tentacles to come shooting out from portals generated by his cybernetic arm, with some of these launching out in front of the Old One and others being summoned to cosmic gateways sprinkled all over the ground. You basically got to use all of your Atlan combat knowledge to defeat this guy, dodging attacks to build up those powerful finisher strikes, while paying attention to the boss's body language to prepare yourself for his next move. But just stay alive and keep on twatting him, which will eventually let you grab a hold of the Eldritch Beast and yoink his head off like a freshly picked turnip. Job done. Okay, well the job's not done, because apparently Prince Ahzrak wants to pop by immediately after that little brawl to take you on himself, probably fed up of all his minions letting him down all the time. We've been given a few glimpses of this guy throughout the game, where he's typically standing around doing a bunch of plotting and just generally being a demonic Dr. Evil. But now he means some serious business, hence why he's taking his shirt off, floating down from his hell blimp and conjuring up a deadly spear to use in battle. Now this is another multi-phase fight where the first one is pretty much paint by numbers. He's going to come flying at you with that weapon swinging around and thrusting forwards, throwing together some pretty gnarly combos that can push you back and punish you if you're not careful. With that said, pretty much all of these attacks can be parried with your shield, reducing the boss's stamina, and because of the sheer number of strikes coming your way, you're going to want to use that shield quite a lot. Pretty much all of his attacks are spear based here, apart from the odd energy blast over distance, or when he sends out a couple of blood spirits to leave harmful trails on the floor, both of which can be shot to top up your own health. Once you've wound him up a bit, in typical multi-phase boss fashion, the prince sort of evolves into a tougher form, getting rid of that kung fu look in favour of something much more hellish, transforming into a nasty bat demon with a little help from the Heart of Argent. I guess this is where the fight really starts, being kinda similar to the first phase, only with Ahzrak being a bit more brutal and unforgiving, chaining together a bunch of hard-hitting spear strikes, jabs and slams, while being aided by his newly acquired wings and powers. Molten spires can be summoned from the ground, acting as obstacles and detonating into fireballs if they're not destroyed in time. But apart from that, there isn't really too much to mention. You'll know when phase 3 is about to happen, because you're going to get stabbed in the stomach just before it. This isn't going to kill you though, it's just going to piss you off. Expect this to be the most ferocious phase, with the boss throwing everything he's got at you. All the same stuff from the other rounds, along with a few new tricks and a touch more aggression. More of those evil blood spirits can be summoned to eerily circle around the arena's perimeter, each taking turns to dart forward and attempt to run you down. All of these provide health of course when they're destroyed, and so long as you time your parries right, they can actually help you out. Remember that attack where Kreed Maykr sent out a bunch of floor spikes in the circle? Well, this guy's going to do something kind of similar, only with much faster moving blades, some of which can be parried. It shouldn't take too much longer to take Ahzrak down from here, and after slapping him around a bit more, you'll go on to rip out the Heart of Argent, giving him those godly powers, which reverts the prince back to his former self. But before you get a chance to crush his head like a walnut, you'll be rudely interrupted by his ship blowing up, giving Ahzrak the opportunity to slope away. So we're on to the final boss fight, and it just so happens to be the Bloody Prince again, but this time around he's got an accomplice, the creepy Eldritch Witch he's made a pact with to unite hell with the cosmic realm. Well, Ahzrak's going to get that spear out again, surprise surprise, pretty much using the same sort of attacks and tricks as before. The real challenge, and the thing that spices this fight up, is the introduction of the witch, who uses a different set of moves to the prince, while also doing so at the same time as him. And in a way, I suppose you could kinda look at this battle as a continuation of the last one, sort of being like phase 4. The witch likes to teleport around the arena while sending out purple energy orbs, generally giving you a lot more to think about and dodge, while Ahzrak's up in your face. But she'll also cast an impenetrable bubble, which alternates between the two bosses, leaving one vulnerable and the other one fully protected, forcing you to keep switching targets on the fly to keep the damage flowing. Typically, whoever's not got the shield tends to be the most aggressive, though there can be a moment where both of the bosses have bubbles, and you've just got to survive a deadly barrage of projectiles. Both bosses are pesky in their own ways, the prince with his constant close-range spear attacks, and the witch with her constantly ghosting around all over the room. After slapping the witch around a bit and putting her out of the fight, it's just you and Ahzrak again, giving you one last chance to settle the score. He's not enhanced by the Heart of Argent anymore, so he's actually a bit of a pushover at this point, and it shouldn't take too long to put him out of the fight as well. Once the battle's finally over, the witch is going to come back with her magical spells, but this is going to backfire when you rebound her energy with your shield, sending her flying through a wall and putting her in a bit of a pickle, all tangled up in a very vulnerable position. One last yeet of the danger frisbee and it's lights out for the witch. But this creates a violent magical explosion, punching a big hole in the hell ship, thus sending you all crashing down to the ground below. Don't worry, Ahzrak's not going to slope off again, being trapped under a load of debris, but he's not quite crushed enough, so the Doomslayer's going to make sure he gets crushed a little bit more. And just to make sure that the prince definitely isn't coming back for phase 5, he's also going to rip the bugger's head off too. If you want to check out the many different demon types that hell's going to throw at you, then you might want to watch my guide on all of those next. Link for that should be up on the screen right now. Subscribe for more content just like this, and a very special thanks to all my channel members for supporting my work. Have a good day guys, and I'll see you in the next one.